In our previous documentaries, we illustrated, among other things, the extent to which many of our foods are poisoned with toxic additives. Our intention with this video is, in part, to highlight how legislation has now been changed in favor of corporate lobbyism, rather than people's welfare or well-being. Furthermore, we wish to not just provide viewers with the relevant information, but also offer constructive solutions for improvement. As from 2011, many herbal and natural remedies will be controlled. Effectively, this may lead to complete suppression or illegalization of organic produce. The aim is to create a world where its inhabitants are completely dependent on artificial or genetically modified foods, as well as drugs and pharmaceuticals. Organic farms and herbal medicine shops, as well as many health food establishments, are therefore likely to suffer heavily from this new legislation and implementation of Codex Alimentarius, and even be forced to shut down, either because their products will be illegal or because they can't afford production or auditing costs. Here is a brief interview with a health food shop owner who was willing to share his views on the subject.
Right, so we're here with Carl at Earth
Carl
Foods.
from Earth Foods in Bournemouth.
Yeah. Hi. And basically, Carl, now obviously the legislation change that's going to make herbal remedies, herbal medicines illegal, which has basically been passed and to be implemented in April next year.
Not necessarily as bad as that. We've got a lot of good people working in various groups around Europe, but mainly we're thinking about Great Britain because the rest of Europe have gone down to the pharmaceutical road. I mean, for example, I think in Germany, now it's very difficult to get even vitamin C in some places. It's very, very difficult because I've visited the organic shops there, the Reform House and Biolager, and I was trying to get simple things like vitamin C and vitamin D. Go and get a prescription. Well, Great Britain has been out in the front for guidance with the health problems through your local organic health shops, not necessarily some of the pharmaceutical ones. The good news is, some of the companies that we're dealing with, they won't get kicked out because they've done some really nice things with the legislation in a roundabout sort of way. One of them is a company called this Nature's Own. Now, what I'm going to tell you now will be news to a few people, others they'll know the news, good news already. There are lots of companies like this. Everything in here is made from the vitamins and minerals, they're made from food. This is food state. So when you get food state into your blood, basically, when you get food state into your blood, 100% absorption. And that's what we need because the molecules are water-sized, colloidal, straight through into the channels into the cell. No problem with side effects because, I mean, we are still permitted to eat food. If we let the Codex Alimentarius get their own way, what they'll do is restrict people from selling high milligrams. So why have high milligrams anyway? The molecules are too big. Sometimes the electrical charge is different. Usually elements are negatively charged from nature. Some of the vitamins and minerals from the pharmacy will be positively charged because you cannot patent food. Pretty soon, they do want us to be controlled in what we eat. If the legislation passes and goes through in April the 1st, there will be people going around checking to see if there's any parsley, sage, rosemary and thyme and other herbs on the shelf. And therefore that means that those same people can come to your house and pull the parsley, sage and rosemary and thyme out of the garden. And, you know, there goes our European herbs. So the difference is small, little, tiny molecules from nature, 100% absorbed into the body, nature's own, along with a lot of the other ones like High Nature, BioHealth, BioForce, have lowered their milligrams way below nice. They have put forward milligrams to be so high that you can't absorb everything, you'd waste 80%, even though they've lowered the total amount of milligrams in a pill. And they want everybody in chemists and health food shops, organic whole food shops, to conform with the legislation. And to do that, they're having to pay £100,000 for each mineral or vitamin in a jar. This is how they work, roughly. Vitamin C, quarter of a gram, 250 milligram. How long does that stay in the blood? 2 days, 48 hours. Now, when you take, let's say, a teaspoon of ascorbic acid from the pharmacy, that's 5 grams. Take it in your drink. How long is that staying in the blood?
Probably about 2 hours.
2 hours to 3 hours. So therefore, there's a difference between food state and pharmaceutical grade. They both sort of work, but the lasting power is in the organic food status. And this one is our bestseller, one of the best sellers in the shop. So while we are a little bit worried, we may actually get visited after the April the 1st. Our individual freedoms, we are all free men and women. They want to seem like they want to control everybody. The legislation will point to actually telling you what you're going to be eating in a few years' time, you know, 10 years' time.
Carl, is there anything that you would advise the normal person or consumer, not obviously a shop owner, that they can do to stop this legislation taking effect?
Get together in your own counties and towns and seek out via the internet other active bodies and make it always peaceful, but be very boisterous. And I'm sure some very high-ranking politicians and lawyers that I've met over the past are all for fairness in the even playing field. But you see, the pharmaceuticals never seem to run out of money, even though they have a lot of problems with side effects of the doctor's drugs, for example. And we could go into that and be here till midnight, but that's what you've got to do is seek out some lawyers, like in Bournemouth I know quite a few that are in favour with the local press, and occasionally you can get released, but they also have to be careful, because you see there's the 1939 Cancer Act law. We're not even supposed to be telling anybody about how to cure their cancers. And basically you can't utter a word or a sound.
The main problem that I understand at the moment with regards to how it will affect health food shops is that you've got a lot of the distributors are going to carry a lot of auditing costs. For example, our local distributor, and I don't know whether you want me to mention the name or not, but they are whole food distributors and organic distributors, and they've been going for over 20 years. But suddenly they've got something like a £4,000 fee per annum to pay for auditing the fact that they hold a number of natural, recognised, easily available supplements, such as, and I'm not going to get off camera very much, but showing you some of the facilities and some of the iron, kelp. These are nature's own, which and they also have Quest products, which again are garlic, echinacea, milk thistle, multivitamins. Those are going to go under a audit function, which is going to cost them thousands of pounds a year. The initial audit function is, I think, in the area of about 16,000. Now, no distributor is going to be able to carry those costs unless they are specifically a distributor of supplements. So a whole food company, which I get most of my foods and supplements from, are not going to carry that cost. And that's going to affect a lot of the product simply not being available. Already it's happened in the last 2 years. You've certainly find it very difficult to get the Quest products because they're not holding them, they're not ordering them again as quickly as they used to, and you haven't got the range. Likewise, I've understood from Postlethwaite, who do a lot of the tinctures, he is going to probably try and save milk thistle and echinacea, and possibly one other, it may be St John's wort, but he's got to go through the licensing process, which costs literally thousands of pounds. I believe from Solgar they said the individual licensing was something like about £11,000. Now they're all different figures that are being thrown around, but whereas Solgar is a large American corporation, they can actually find alternatives which may be able to help a particular cure. But they're going to have to be taking off their products from March, I think it is, next year, off the shelf, and it will be difficult. I can sell them until they're out of date, but I'm going to find it difficult to replace those products. With a company like Postlethwaite, who is a small local company up in Herefordshire on the Welsh border, he's going to be lucky if he can afford to license 3 of those products, which means the rest of the products are going to go away, and if he can't afford to license those, he will probably go out of business completely. And that's going to have an immediate impact because people aren't going to get natural products that they want to use. They're not going to be available, and as a result, you're going to have big holes in the ability of people to procure things that have been going naturally for what, thousands of years since the monks were making them. You know, and it seems ridiculous that legislation in Europe is being carried out with vigour and applied with vigour by the institutions over here, the government over here, when it's not happening in the rest of Europe to the same extent.
As we can clearly gather from this, the situation is indeed very serious. The notion of our food being controlled and regulated has reached new heights, and has become far more than just a conspiracy theory. We are part of nature, yet we are more and more pushed into an artificial and synthetic lifestyle. Many of our foods do not even contain any natural ingredients whatsoever. Organic produce is becoming scarce. With all this in mind, can we really turn a blind eye to this? Even those who do not rely on health foods and herbs must realize that we have to speak up about the new legislation. After all, the problem is not the fact that artificial and genetically modified foods are in existence, but the fact that any alternative is being purposely wiped out. Do we really have the right to let this happen? Do we not all share an equal responsibility for the preservation of nature and the natural way of life?